It's PS5 Pro week. Yay! Look, I've made comments in recently of a proud owner when he got it of a PlayStation 5, the original, that I'm not particularly excited about a PS5 Pro, but that's coming from someone who is a negative PC gamer at heart, and he kind of just got the PS5 to play one game that was Rebirth because it doesn't come out on the PC, because fucking why not? I get it. If you're not like me and you're not in that position to own a PC gaming or a PC that plays games and stuff like that, then this might be an exciting week for you. I get it. You get to have a more powerful version of a powerful console that can play now games. Hopefully, we'll get into that. At a decent frame rate, or the speeds and the frame rates and the resolutions that you expected kind of when you got a PS5. Now you can finally do it for a lot of money. So I'm going to try not be negative. I'm not trying to be negative about it. Like, honest, well, I am, obviously. This is kind of like a two-part video in a way. I'm talking about a very particular thing here. I was initially just going to put this like as a separate thing away from the PlayStation Pro, but I feel like it very much fits in with that console, especially going into the future. We'll talk about the PS5 Pro and a little bit when the embargo lifts, which is literally the day before it comes out, which is on Wednesday. The console itself comes out on Thursday. They have put a bit of news about what is actually going to be enhanced on launch day, or at least the first week or so when the PS5 Pro comes out. So there's that, and it's coming out, and etc. etc. And that's not really what I'm going to talk about, really. As I said, we'll save that for down the line when everyone when everyone gets their hands basically on a PS5 Pro. At the moment, there are some media outlets and some YouTubers that have got the PS5 Pro. They have done an unboxing video, Digital Foundry, I watched recently, where all they're allowed to do, and this goes for everyone, was just to allow themselves to unbox it and just take it out of the box and then stare at it and go, oh, there it is, kind of thing. So there's that. Those types of videos. The actual embargo for talking about the actual performance of the console with games basically comes out the day before it launches. So take with that what you will, but that's going to be for another time when people get their hands and they try things and see how it is. I did find it interesting though that in that video, the one I'm referring to is Digital Foundry's video. I will link it in the description below. But I did find it very interesting that they mentioned there was a manual essentially, and inside the manual itself, I have a squeaky chair. Inside the manual itself, gave the specifications for the PS5 Pro, the actual specification, not the leaked documents, because there's a lot of leaked stuff going out before the actual PS5 Pro, before it even came out. They got a manual, and inside the manual, or like a piece of paper, had the actual specifications of the PS5 Pro. There were some interesting things about that. In fact, I actually found on Push Square, they've actually put this out just yesterday. PS5 Pro versus PS5 full tech specs comparison. And if you scroll right down, that's what it is. And you can kind of have a look at it for a bit. I'm going to leave it like this so you can just kind of give a little bit of a comparison. The two, would I say two main things? I would say. So the two main things to kind of look out for is the GPU. So the GPU is 16.7 teraflops, and I'm not going to get all techie and specky and all PC gamer on people who don't want me to get down to brass tacks, basically. But basically, the PS5 is 10.28 teraflops, while the PS5 Pro is 16.7 teraflops. That is not like a massive increase, but the kind of main thing that the PS5 Pro is doing, which is if you look down to this section here, the AI upscaling, is that PS5 doesn't have AI upscaling and the PS5 Pro does. Now, AI upscaling is something that PC gamers have been enjoying quite a lot, and it actually is incredibly useful, and it does actually give a huge performance gains in some games, depending on the optimization of the game itself. But in a lot of games, a lot of modern games, it does give a huge boost to the frame rate. Used to get a lot of times before AI upscaling that you'd get the frame rates kind of dipping up and down, up and down because of AI scaling and upscaling. It also allows you as well, I should mention, to produce a image at 1080p, for example, and then upscale it to 4K. So therefore, it's a fake 4K image. It's upscaling, but it's like a fake 4K image, but it still looks better than just having it at 1080p. It's better to have it upscaled to 4K if you can. So now at the point where I want to talk about the thing. The thing I want to talk about, I took so fucking long. The thing I want to talk about, it's not about the internal storage being another terabyte. Thank God, another terabyte. I mean, it is actually needed on a PlayStation nowadays, let's be honest. The thing I want to talk about is something I forgot about. I really did forget about this. And to be honest, I wasn't doing these formatted videos where I talk about, you know, things in the news when this got announced and stuff like that, when the actual PS Pro got announced. Is this the optical drive, right? So with the PS5 Pro, you don't get one. There is no option like you did with the standard PS5 to go for a disk drive or a digital drive. It was, I believe, is around about 50 to 100 pounds. I'm going to use my own money. I'm sorry. I'm a British bastard. It was around about a difference about 50 to 100 pounds. I believe it wasn't a huge difference, but there was a difference. If you wanted a disk drive, it was going to cost more, and the digital version was going to cost less. With the PS5 Pro, it doesn't have one. You have to get one separately, which PlayStation will happily give to you at a very PlayStation price. Problem, though, is that everyone wanted a disk drive, which, as this Techopedia article is explaining, the PS5 Pro launch triggers scalping frenzy for external drives. You can't get one of these drives. I've looked. I've gone in to try pretend like I want a PS5 Pro. Especially in my country, the UK, you can't get one. They're all sold out, or you have to get a notification to get one. So if people planned to get a PS5 Pro this week with a disk drive, it's not going to happen. It's incredibly difficult. Put your tinfoil hats on, because Conspiracy Dan is back and he's going to put a conspiracy to this. I find it interesting that already, considering that a lot of people who are probably getting a PS5 Pro might, a lot of people who are considering getting a PS5 Pro might not consider getting one if they've already got a PS5. Like, there's a lot of people out there just going like, nah, not for me. It's too expensive. I've already got a PS5. I don't really care too much. It's a bit odd to find this article. They also are saying that there is a bunch of prices online currently at the moment listing or exceeding £300 to buy one of these things. I went to check for myself. So I couldn't find one for 300, but this is one of the cheapest ones I could find. And it's £189 to get this. And it's basically just a drive. It feels so like it's basically just a drive you kind of stack in there, and then you're able to use it as a... I feel like we're going a little bit backwards, and I know that having a disk drive is going backwards a little bit, but like I really do feel that PlayStation don't want you to get these things. They don't want you to get a disk drive. This is why they're making it really difficult. I know it's Conspiracy Dan. But hear me out. The main benefit that PlayStation get from not having a disk drive in their consoles, and to be honest, if this is how hard it is to get a disk drive now that we've moved into the Pro range of the PS5, and we're probably about 4 or 5 years from the PS6, I think this is the last console that's going to have a disk drive. I don't know about Xbox and all that. I'm sure they're probably thinking the same thing, but or whatever. But I truly believe that the PS5 Pro is the last time we're going to see a disk drive on a console. Part of that is, yes, tinfoil hat Dan is thinking that they're making it really hard for people to get disk drives. But the other reason for it is because They want you to buy digital. It's very obvious, and I'm sure some of you have already made that out already without me explaining to you, but they want you to buy the games from their store. If everything goes direct through PlayStation, PlayStation get a cut. PlayStation make money from it. PlayStation set the prices. You have a system and a console which the only way you can get games on it is through their store and not by any other retailer or anyone else, and all the money goes through to them. Okay? Why wouldn't they want to limit the amount of disk drives that are going out, or make it harder, you know, or just not make as many, you know? Why wouldn't they? Again, Conspiracy Dan is still fully engaged. And this is where the problem lies, because people are going to lose jobs. They really are. The reason for this, and I still use a couple of these sites, and there's not a lot now left because of, you know, there's been so many game closures in terms of game stores and things like that. But there is a lot of still like online only stores that still operate absolutely fine selling games and things like that. If there's no discs to sell, or no disc drives available, or a lack of, or when we get to the next generation of PS6, and I truly believe this is the case, there is no disc drive at all, these stores, and I could name a couple, but okay, fine, I'll name a couple. Shop2 is a UK store I use. The Game Collection is another one I use. There's various other ones in your country or various around the world that still just operate as a game store, but probably not a physical one anymore because they just don't work anymore in modern times. But online game stores, they can still make money. They can still run. What are they going to sell? What are you going to sell if there's no disc drives in these things, when PlayStation practically have cut them out, cut the market, and they've taken all that potential income is going direct to PlayStation on top, and then selling overpriced disc drives as well at the same time. These companies, these game stores, the ones that the last that truly exist, you know, really, and even if there's some, you know, in-person game stores and stuff, this is going to hit them incredibly hard as well. If this is the case, just going into the future, they're going to have to only do like retro or just like kind of have legacy games and stuff like that, you know, and discs are going to be the thing of the past. Now, as a PC gamer and as someone who's already said like, oh, I'm a PC gamer and stuff, I get it. The thing about PC gaming is it's all digital. It's always been all digital for a very, very long time. This is truly the end of an era. I feel like it's truly the end of physical media, physical games especially. Once the consoles have moved on from it, and PC, I know, have already moved on from it. It's just, that's how PC works, really. It's always been like that for a long time. But the thing about PC gaming is that you don't have to go through the Steam store. You don't have to go through the Epic store. You don't have to go through another retailer that's selling PC keys or whatever. You know, it's more of a free market, and therefore you're not charged one price fits all kind of thing. You know, there is platforms that you can play the games on, but like you get to choose in some sense. Like there is a lot more freedom. This limits it for console games. This is it. Everything goes to PlayStation. They want all the money going to them and no one else. Sure, retailers, they're still going to need retailers to sell the consoles, and that's kind of the only thing that's probably going to keep these retailers afloat, is selling consoles. They can at least distribute the consoles. But what happens after that? Like, what happens? Surely they keep afloat by just selling PlayStations? Maybe they can keep afloat until the PS6 comes out. Will they make enough? What happens when all that kind of dries up and stuff? And then further down the line, like way further down the line, and I know this is looking into like a long way down the line territory. Like, are consoles even going to exist? And that's a story for another time. But like, there will be some point where consoles don't even exist, and will be fully in the cloud. And then these companies that try to sell games at least are gone. But for the near future, at least, I feel like this is bad. It's bad for them. It's bad for ownership as well. It's bad for not owning your games. It's bad for prices of games. You know, things are good. If you think games are expensive now, imagine what could happen if the only way you can get a game is just through the store, which is what it's kind of going to end up being like through the PSN store. I don't know. This is a longer ramble than I'm usually doing, but it's kind of just food for thought, more or less. I sort of just remembered that this whole thing was like, oh yeah, no, this console's coming out, but there's no disc drive on it. Unless you find one or pay for one, that's a lot more expensive than it probably should be. It's just food for thought. And yes, times change. I get that. Things need to change with the times. I understand that. PC gaming has kind of moved on to this already. What's the big problem? As I said earlier, there's a big difference with PC gaming and how you get your games and things like that, and the platform you can play on. And with this, it's just you play on the platform, you pay on the platform, you give the money to PlayStation, they get a cut of it, and they also dictate pretty much what the pricing is going to be for most of these things. I don't know. I don't like it.